Picture this. One of K-pop's most successful rookie groups, worth hundreds of millions, is caught in a vicious legal battle that could destroy everything they've built. What started as creative differences has spiraled into accusations of conspiracy, secret investor meetings, and a calculated plan codenamed after one of history's darkest moments. And the most shocking part? The evidence suggests this was all planned before certain rival groups even existed. The tension reached a breaking point on September 11th when lawyers for both sides sat down for what everyone hoped would finally end this mess. 20 minutes. That's all it took for negotiations to completely collapse. Industry insiders couldn't believe it. Mediations in cases this big usually last hours, sometimes entire days. But this one, dead on arrival. The members of NewJeans didn't even bother showing up, sending only their legal team instead. Sources close to the situation revealed that both sides walked in with zero intention of compromising. They weren't there to negotiate, they were preparing for war. Legal analysts who've covered entertainment disputes for decades said they'd never seen relationships deteriorate this badly, this fast. The first mediation attempt on August 14th had at least given people hope when Danielle and Minji attended personally, sitting through an hour of heated discussions. But this second attempt, it sent a clear message. There's no going back. But that same day delivered an even bigger shock when former Adore CEO Min Hee Jin stepped into the witness box. What happened next left even seasoned legal observers stunned. She didn't just defend herself, she went on the offensive, throwing out accusations that would make headlines for weeks. She called her shareholder agreement a slave contract right there in open court.
그게 저한테 노예 계약처럼 걸려있어요. 무슨 말이냐면 그게 행사가 안 돼서 나는 하이브에 영원히 묶여 있어야 되는 거야. 그거.
Then she turned to HYBE's chief legal officer and essentially called him a liar to his face.
근데 그걸 가지고 나한테 무슨 프레임이었죠? 그게 외부 자문사에 거창하게 외부 자문사의 자문을 받았다. 저 하이브에 정확하게 요구할게요. 제가 누구를 만나서 어떤 투자를 받았는지 데리고 오고 그거 내가 무슨 투자의 얘기를 나눴는지 가지고 오라고.
The tension in that courtroom was so thick you could cut it with a knife. When pressed about her claims that ILIT had copied NewJeans, she fired back that the entire internet was already talking about it before she ever said a word. HYBE's legal team hit back hard, presenting evidence that Min had been plotting something they called hollowing Adore into an empty shell, essentially accusing her of trying to gut the company from the inside to force HYBE into selling it to her. Then came the revelation that nobody saw coming. HYBE's lawyers pulled out a document that made everyone in that courtroom gasp. Project 1945. The name alone sent shockwaves through the K-pop community. For those who don't know, 1945 was the year atomic bombs devastated Japan, killing hundreds of thousands. It was also the year Korea gained independence. From the title alone, it can be inferred that Min Hee Jin was planning to drop a financial bomb on HYBE, which would give Min the opportunity to buy Adore, freeing it from being HYBE's subsidiary company. The document revealed a methodical plan to attack and undermine two specific groups that belonged to HYBE, Le Sserafim and ILIT. But here's what made it truly sinister. ILIT hadn't even debuted yet when this plan was created. 4 Japanese members across these two groups, and the project was named after the year Japan faced its darkest moment. The document detailed specific dates: February 9th for Le Sserafim's comeback, March 25th for ILIT's debut. It talked about stockpiling evidence, preparing media attacks, and creating narratives about album manipulation. This wasn't some emotional reaction to competition. This was calculated, premeditated warfare. The rabbit hole went even deeper when evidence emerged about NewJeans' parents being directly involved in the conspiracy. This wasn't just parents supporting their kids. Court documents revealed actual strategy meetings, detailed plans, and specific instructions. March 29, 2024. A meeting between Min Hee Jin and the parents where they discussed searching for staff controversies, investigating community and SNS, and most damning of all, how to leak to reporters. They had names, specific journalists from specific outlets. One entry literally read M Company Reporter K, with instructions on exactly what narrative to push. Text messages showed parents actively coordinating with Min on timing, messaging, and which online forums to target. They weren't just cheerleaders, they were active participants in a corporate takedown attempt. The meeting notes included phrases like, "staying still is a loss," and "using media play." This was psychological warfare, and the parents were apparently all in. Min's biggest accusation centered on album sales manipulation, claiming HYBE had pushed 80,000 albums on ILIT's final tracking day just to beat NewJeans' record. She stood in that courtroom and said, "Even one album can take away another's #1." But when the actual data came out, it told a completely different story. NewJeans' daily sales had dropped to 2,000 before jumping to 9,200, a 460% increase. ILIT's went from 20,000 to 88,000, a 430% increase. The percentages were nearly identical, and when investigators looked at Le Seraphim's debut, same pattern, 6,400 to 27,700, another 430% spike. This wasn't manipulation, this was the standard sales pattern for major K-pop releases. The irony? Min had accused others of exactly what the data showed was normal industry practice, while simultaneously planning to use these false accusations as ammunition since before ILIT even existed. But perhaps the most explosive revelation involved secret meetings that Min allegedly held with Japanese investors without HYBE's knowledge. According to testimony from HYBE's chief legal officer, an anonymous source reported that Min met with these investors in late 2023 and early 2024. The meetings were deliberately hidden, taking place in venture capital offices that had previously advised Min on shareholder agreements. The January meeting included something that would later prove devastating to Min's case. A document translated into Japanese claiming NewJeans had a 100% chance of victory in their legal battle. This wasn't just confidence. This was Min allegedly shopping around for investors while still under contract with HYBE, showing potential backers that she was certain NewJeans would be free to leave. The document was prepared by the same law firm representing both Min and NewJeans, creating a clear conflict of interest. When Danielle mentioned in an interview that the group expected an alternative outcome where they could resume activities independently, it suddenly made sense. They thought they had already won before the case even started.
I was obviously expecting the alternative results, but yeah, so I think it was like a moment where we were all really just like kind of in shock. And
what makes this even more complex is how meticulously planned everything appears to have been. The Project 1945 document didn't just list dates and targets, it outlined a comprehensive strategy for manipulating public opinion. Instructions like detonate after the 11th weren't metaphorical. They were literal timing instructions for releasing damaging information. Min had given specific orders via Kakao Talk to her team. Pull up the plan change. Send the first round on April 3rd. We are preparing for public opinion campaign. Every move was choreographed, every attack timed for maximum impact. HYBE's position became clear. They believed Min was intentionally tanking Adore's value and reputation to force them into selling the company to her at a fraction of its worth. The stock market implications alone could have cost HYBE hundreds of millions. The legal teams have now revealed the timeline moving forward, and it's going to be a long, brutal fight. Min will face another round of direct examination on November 27th, where HYBE's lawyers will have another chance to grill her under oath. Final arguments are set for December 18th, but the real bombshell? The judge won't rule on Min's case until January 2026. But before any of that, October 30th looms large. That's when the court will finally decide if NewJeans can break free from Adore or if they're legally bound to continue under a company they claim has betrayed them. This isn't just about one group or one company anymore. Legal experts are calling this a landmark case that could fundamentally change how K-pop contracts work. If NewJeans wins, it could trigger an avalanche of similar cases from other artists. If they lose, it might cement company control over artists for generations. The narrative that Min Hee Jin has pushed, that she's protecting NewJeans from corporate exploitation, becomes much more complicated when you see evidence of her allegedly planning attacks on other young artists before they even had a chance to debut. The slave contract she complains about? She signed it. The album manipulation she accuses others of? The data doesn't support it. The creative freedom she claims to champion? It apparently didn't extend to groups that might compete with her own. Meanwhile, NewJeans themselves are caught in the middle. with their careers hanging in the balance while adults fight over money and power. What's particularly telling is how both sides are handling the pressure. HYBE has methodically presented documentation, data, and testimony. They've built their case on paper trails and digital evidence. Min's defense has relied more heavily on emotional appeals and accusations of conspiracy, though she's also presented her own interpretation of events that paints HYBE as the aggressor. The truth, as always in these cases, probably lies somewhere in between. But with secret investor meetings, pre-planned media attacks, and parents acting as co-conspirators, the story has moved far beyond a simple contract dispute. The members of NewJeans, Minji, Hani, Danielle, Heron, and Hyein have largely remained silent throughout recent proceedings, letting their lawyers speak for them. But their absence from that second mediation spoke volumes. Sources say they've been advised to continue preparing for comebacks as if nothing has changed, while simultaneously preparing for the possibility that everything could change overnight. The psychological toll on these young artists must be immense. They went from being K-pop's newest sensation to being pawns in a corporate chess match worth hundreds of millions of dollars. As we wait for October 30th's verdict, the entire K-pop industry is holding its breath. This case has already exposed the dark underbelly of entertainment company politics, the secret meetings, the media manipulation, the willing participation of parents in corporate warfare. It's shown how quickly creative differences can spiral into legal battles that destroy relationships and careers. But most importantly, it's raised fundamental questions about artist rights, company control, and who really owns the music and image that makes K-pop a global phenomenon. Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: the relationship between artists and companies in K-pop will never be the same. The innocence is gone, replaced by a harsh reality where legal documents matter more than hit songs, and where even parents can become soldiers in corporate wars. The countdown to October 30th has begun, and with it, the future of not just NewJeans, but possibly the entire structure of K-pop hangs in the balance.